Taking it to load. There we go. Welcome to the Florida LSU postgame show live. I'm Tyler Whitfield. We got Tyler Nintendo with us. And man, what a game for the Gators. 27-16 over the 22nd ranked LSU Tigers. Brian Kelly and the Tigers take their third straight loss after, honestly, before the Texas A&M game, I had LSU winning out to the playoff. I mean, what do you think, Tyler? You're the LSU specialist here.
Yeah, I mean, I thought going into that game, I had them winning that game. And I mean, I thought, Alabama would be tough, but if they could get past those two games and, even if they could just split them, I thought they had a really good playoff odds. Yeah, they've had a collapse here, and it can't be too fun if you're over on the other side after this. Like you said, losing 3 straight games kind of just completely ruined any hope you once had in the season.
For sure. I mean, Brian Kelly, I saw a stat with Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and who was school? Central Michigan or Central Michigan.
Yeah.
So in the third season at those 3 teams, in his third season, he was like a combined 33-5. He's 6-4 at LSU now. I mean, not to make this an LSU show, but I mean, he's definitely becoming on the hot seat.
Yeah, definitely not the coach that I think most people thought we'd be talking about their future job status after this game.
I mean, just to break it, Wisconsin just got a touchdown.
Ooh.
Wisconsin now leads PAT pending 10-6.
Look, guys, I think the chaos path for a 5-loss Florida team in the playoff is there.
That's obviously where we're going here. Beat a 2-loss Ole Miss team next week.
Yeah.
5. I mean, we have the hardest schedule in the country. So 5 losses for us, better than 3 losses for Ole Miss, obviously. But no, in all seriousness, no, though. It's making my national championship pick very difficult because people have asked the past couple of weeks, too, do I have in the championship game? And it's like, I'm thinking probably should be Oregon, but we haven't seen them do it yet. So I've always just been like, man, probably like Ohio State still or Georgia sometimes wins it. Man, I don't even know who to pick.
Yeah, I was really bullish on Ohio State coming into the year. Like they were my national title pick. So like, I think they've been a bit disappointing, but I haven't completely like recalibrated on that. So I probably am still leaning with them, but they got to beat Indiana because if they lose to Indiana, obviously I will not feel the same way. Yeah,
definitely. Maybe Indiana would be a championship favorite. I mean, at that point, if there's only undefeated team left besides BYU.
Yeah.
BYU could lose to Arizona State. Last I checked, was dominating Kansas State.
Yeah, they were. What happened in the BYU playing Kansas today, right? Tonight?
Checking real quick. They play at 10:15.
10:15. Okay.
Kansas. Okay. It's only a 2.5-point game spread. That's pretty dang close. Got TJ. Thanks for beating LSU and exposing Brian Kelly. Well, I know you really want to flip Bryce Underwood. Maybe this helps. I mean, I don't know. From what Underwood has said, I don't think he's going to flip. But hey, maybe that $10.5 million comes out and works.
Yeah, if it's not even more than that, because I think I've heard rumors that it's even potentially more than that. So, yeah. We will see. It certainly gets a lot more interesting after tonight. Underwood come home. I mean, if you're a Michigan fan rooting for this was the perfect. There's nothing better that could have happened to you tonight than this. That's for sure.
It's wow. It's more.
Yeah, it's more. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case, TJ.
No, especially after this, there has to be a lot more pressure. But let's actually get into this Florida LSU game. The Gators end up winning it 27-16. 14 points in the third quarter to close this out. A 55-yard touchdown run from Jaden Ball to really put the stamp in this game. Very similar to 2019 Florida-Auburn. Game also kind of similar in that way. Florida was mostly in control or the lead for most of that 2019 Auburn game, and then big run at the end to seal it. If you look at the stats of this game, you'd probably think LSU won, and you'd probably think LSU dominated. I mean, time of possession, 41, nearly 42 minutes to nearly 18 minutes. LSU had like 10 more first downs than Florida did. I think there was a point LSU converted like 6 straight third down conversions. I mean,
more than twice as many penalties. Florida had 7 penalties to
yes.
LSU's only 3.
Another thing, man, this Florida team, like, they were in the lead for most of this game. So it was tied or in the lead. So I wouldn't say they found a way to a win, but like when you look at it, it felt like LSU was also in control. But they couldn't get into the end zone. Only 1 touchdown. You're about to say something.
All I was gonna say was I felt like until that touchdown to go ahead, honestly, until the touchdown to go ahead 2 scores, that ended up making it the final score. Like I thought LSU was gonna pull away, find a way to win this game.
Yeah.
Even when they, when they got the stop to hold them to a field goal there, which was huge.
Yes.
I still thought, they're going to get this ball back. They need a touchdown. They can take the lead. Like Garrett Nussmeier is going to find someone's going to get open deep. It'll happen finally. And then it just didn't, Florida was able to continue to, move the ball and, didn't do a great job of capitalizing on opportunities in this game and finishing drives, but, did enough to do it when they needed to. And defense got the stops when they needed to. I mean, credit where it's due. I think a pretty complete game on both sides of the ball.
I think one big thing that needs to be mentioned here, Florida did this, and DJ Lagway, 0 carries, 0 yards. I mean, we talked about the Georgia game and it's like, oh, Lagway was only 2 of 6, so we talked about his mobility adding a ton to the offense. Florida didn't have his mobility at all this game, and they still managed to have, 115 rush yards? I mean, they averaged...
Yeah.
One thing I will say about this game, about Billy, I feel like we got away from the run.
Yeah.
There was a time we probably threw the ball like 5, 6 straight attempts for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, only 17 total attempts when you're ripping off 6 yards a carry is a little curious. Like, I'm not sure I get that.
This game was kind of the opposite of what you see from LSU. Because LSU, Caden Durham, he had been averaging 6 yards a carry. Not very many attempts. And I was like, LSU needs to run the ball more, which they did a lot tonight. 20 attempts for Durham for 90 yards. But then Florida was the opposite, where they should have kept running the ball. We kept throwing it. We kept airing it out. And luckily it worked in the end. But, man, it did have me worried.
Yeah, and LSU, like, just having watched them this year, like, not being able to run the ball. I mean, they're the worst rushing offense in the SEC. I'm a little surprised how much they just tried to brute force it tonight, though. I mean, there was kind of a point where it was working and they were had worn them down and had some success. But I mean, ultimately finish averaging less than 3 yards a carry, 44 attempts for 120 yards as a team for the Tigers. Like, I mean, and a lot of that's being, to be fair, just Garrett Nussmeier's sack yard is just hurting that a lot. But still, like, even then, it wasn't like a massively efficient game on the ground. I mean, Caden Durham ripped off less than 5 a carry. Josh Williams just over 5 a carry. So, like, fine, but not necessarily like what you would expect with the volume that they took on the ground tonight, which I thought was questionable because that Florida still was down guys in the secondary tonight.
Yep.
And you just watched Texas torch them. Now, you don't have that talent. I think it became really apparent tonight that LSU doesn't have that same kind of talent out wide. No. But still surprising to me that you try to run the ball so much when this is not what you've done successfully. And this is really what Florida has been pretty successful in slowing down, all things considered.
Yeah, it was probably like that middle of the game where LSU was having a ton of success with the run. There was one drive, I think, was it their touchdown drive maybe? No, it wasn't their touchdown drive. It was one of the field goal drives. They get into the red zone. We end up sacking Nussmeier in like a third down long after a penalty. After the pass interference in the red zone where they did get a touchdown, but it was a pick play from the looks of it, from what I saw. That drive, they ran all over us. It was really about 2 drives for LSU where they just were able to run through us with nothing stopping them. But then the rest of the game, we really stopped them really well. It just came down to third downs. They were still getting them. I mean, give Nussmeier credit for those. But I think you mentioned it, the sacks. LSU throughout this entire season has given up 6 sacks. Florida alone had 7 of them. I mean, I'm looking at the stat thing right here. I think it has to be wrong because it says Tyreek Sapp only had 1 sack. I thought he had like 3. Tyreek Sapp was in the backfield all game, it felt like. He has to be in consideration for like the SEC Defensive Player of the Week or D Lineman of the Week.
Yeah, no, I mean him and Shamar James too was all over the place inside making plays. James had 2 sacks. According to the stats I'm seeing, James had 2 sacks. Banks had 1. Cameron James had 1. Yeah. And Gums had 1. Sorry.
Sapp had 4 TFLs. So that's probably where I'm thinking more sacks. So he was all over. He's usually not the best run defender, but in this game he was eating them alive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, great penetration all in all. I mean, the defensive line, like, say what you will about this team, but I think the defensive line, the growth from that group of guys throughout this season. I mean, going from week 1 where Cam Ward was just operating with minutes to in the pocket. I think they've come a really long way. And granted, this is a banged up LSU offensive line. It's not quite the unit that was expected to be one of the best in the country. But I don't think that matters that much. I mean, like the stats you just said speaks for itself. This team has not been allowing sacks all season. And tonight was a completely different story. So, yeah, I mean, got to give a lot of credit to Austin Armstrong and the defense. They've continued to adjust. And, kind of last week notwithstanding, this last month and a half of the season, been some really impressive defensive football.
Got to give Shamar James a lot of credit. Going into this game, he had a pretty bad performance against Texas. I mean, LSU. I mean, Georgia was kind of whatever. Pup Howard didn't play in this game. People would say was our best linebacker going into the game. Shamar James ripped off 11 tackles, 2 sacks, so 2 TFLs, 2 QB hits. I mean, this was probably his best game of the season. I mean, he was amazing in run support, rushing the QB. He obviously was. Leading the defense overall, though, you're missing your second starting linebacker. Replaced him with Jaden Robinson, sophomore, redshirt freshman. I'm not sure if he got the redshirt last year.
I think redshirt freshman, but I could be wrong about that.
I know he got a lot of run at the end of last season, so that's why I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe you're right.
But so he was leading those guys. Miles Graham was getting a ton of playing time. So was Aaron Childs. Yeah, Aaron Childs, not Aiden, this Michigan State QB. But Aaron Childs, he was getting a lot of run tonight. So you got to give Shamar James a ton of credit for leading this linebacker room. And really, besides those 2 drives, stopping the LSU run game. I did think it was a big problem. The zone. LSU was eating up our zone. I feel like we had more success in man coverage. So I wonder if Ole Miss, it's going to be tough because we are hurt in the secondary. Our man coverage was better against LSU. Obviously not as talented as a wide receiver room as they've had in the past or what Ole Miss is. So it's going to be very tough for this defensive staff to scheme up a game plan for next week.
Yeah, and I mean, frankly, like I think Jackson Dart's a better quarterback than Garrett Nussmeier is right now. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier, like this was a guy that I think in the first half of the Texas. I mean, I saw like NFL draft people in the first half of that Texas A&M game being like, maybe it's time to have the Garrett Nussmeier conversation. Like now we're at the point where I almost wonder if he's even going to leave. He might come back to LSU next year. Like I like we'll just see. But like point being, I think the limitations there are clear. I think Jackson Dart has had a much better season. And I just think this Ole Miss offense is in a much better spot, talent and personnel wise. So I am concerned about the defense because I think it's going to be a much tougher test next week. But hey, by winning this game next week actually kind of matters. So I guess that's a big step.
The difference between a 6-6 season and 7-5 season plus a bowl game, getting to 8 wins would be huge. If they could knock off another top 25 team in Ole Miss, we've already heard they're spending a lot of money in the transfer portal. Pete Nako said it seems like they're putting money also towards the recruiting class. I wouldn't be surprised if we do upset Ole Miss, even if it's like a close game, then beat FSU, win our bowl game likely with Lagway. I think we'll win our bowl game. We don't know, so I'm not going to go there. This could possibly be like a preseason top 20, top 15 team. I mean, Lagway, no mobility. And he still was. Did he outplay Nussmeier? I'd say so.
Yeah,
I know
100%. I think he did. I think he did.
I'd
No,
also
I don't
say
think Nussmeier was like horrendous tonight.
no.
I think everything about the way that offense is operating right now just is not doing him a lot of favors.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean Lagway, I mean, if for nothing else, those throws, those deep balls, man.
Mm-hmm.
The one, especially the one to Badger that set up the go ahead touchdown. Was it go ahead touchdown? The one that
Yes, we
got
were down
down to the
13 to
one
10.
and
We were
where
down
they
13
ran
to
it right
10.
in with
Yes.
Jakeem. Yeah. So, or not Jakeem, Jacoby
Jacoby.
Jackson. Sorry. Yeah. So like, I mean, that throw was like seeing a true freshman make that throw is bonkers, man. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I mean, I'm not saying like I didn't know Lagway was good before tonight, but just like seeing him, especially knowing he's probably not 100% and seeing him go
Mm-hmm.
out and make throws like that. I mean, I've been watching this team for, most of my life. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback who can throw the ball like that play for the Florida Gators.
Going into next season, is there any other QB in the country that you would rather have than DJ Lagway?
I mean, probably not. I mean, I think you can make an Arch Manning case. I mean, I don't know if I'm saying I would do that. I think that if you're going to make a case for someone, I think you could say that Arch Manning of the young quarterbacks could maybe be that guy. I mean, maybe you get a step from Nico. I know. I mean, but I don't think there's certainly not a clear cut case of
No.
someone that I would say I'd rather have than DJ.
Yeah, I don't think I can really think of anybody because, like, Arch, we saw him tear apart Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State. I mean, anyone could do that. We see Lagway, he was doing good against Georgia. I would say he was doing good. Others would say. We saw him do good against LSU. Saw him do good against Kentucky. I don't see really anyone else in the country you could put above Lagway going into next year.
Yeah. And by the way, I just mentioned Nico. Speaking of Nico, Tennessee just scored to retake the lead. Yeah.
What does it take for Florida to win the SEC now?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a path to Atlanta. I'm not sure that can happen, but
yeah, probably not. But
man, if you can end this season with momentum and Georgia ends with the opposite of momentum, like that's cool, I suppose. I mean, that's better than I think anyone thought we'd be finding ourselves at this point coming into the year.
For sure. I'm interested to see what the spread of this Ole Miss game is going to be. I think it's like 11.5 right now.
Really?
Wonder if
that would, yeah.
I think that's what I saw, but like they always change like when the next day.
Yeah.
Like this game was originally like 8.5, and then when the new lines came out, it was like 5, and then ended at
I'd say like 7.5. Something like 7.5 kind of feels right to me.
Yeah. Maybe it drops down to 6.5 depending on what bettors do.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.5 feels sounds like a good spread right there. What should we get into next about this team? Elijah Badger, we talked about him. 6 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. Had a little bit of struggle early on in the game, but he definitely picked it up at the end. I mean, throughout the rest of the game. We already talked about the go-ahead touchdown where he caught it, got to the 1-yard line. Great play from Lagway. He can't make the throw. The receiver's not open.
Yeah.
So you got to give Elijah Badger all the credit. Chimere Dike, 2 catches, one of them on the first drive. I'm not sure when the second catch came. He did on that first drive. I mean, you got to give Lagway a ton of credit for the throw he made to DK. DK needs to catch that.
Yeah, DK does need to catch that. That was a frustrating drop for sure.
That was an elite throw by. That's an NFL. You don't see many people in the country make that throw Lagway made.
Yeah.
Tony Livingston also had a really nice catch and run. Is Livingston faster than Arliss Boardingham? I mean, Arliss Boardingham has been non-existent, I feel like, this year.
Yeah, I mean, one of my most disappointing players on the team, I would say.
Yeah, not saying Tony's been elite, but that we've said that's like his 3rd or 4th catch on the year. But he had a lot of bursts, I felt like. Hayden Hansen also I think that touchdown drive to go up. Hayden Hansen had a big 3rd down catch for 19 yards. So gets a lot of credit there. The receivers, I feel like they were kind of letting us down in this game. I felt like Lagway's making some plays. There was a second quarter. There was like a back shoulder throw to Elijah Badger, or if Badger kind of keeps running, he kind of goes for the outside for some reason. But if Badger just keeps running, I think that's a first down. But we end up having to punt there. DK, we already talked about his drops. Didn't see any of Ada Mizell. Marcus Burke it was a good play from the DB. It was a really high throw. Burke went up for it, kind of come down with it. Maybe you'd like to see him get that, but Lagway is still just making those great throws. Got Jackson Johnson in the comments. Brian Kelly is a disaster at LSU. It has the same vibes as Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. Do you have anything
at least Jimbo had won a natty. I mean, like Jimbo at least had the natty claim to fame. I mean, Brian Kelly's on a Jimbo-esque contract. It's a fully guaranteed deal with a buyout in north of 70, I believe. So.
I'm pretty sure it's $52 million.
Is that what it's at these days?
I'm pretty sure that's what I read earlier.
Gotcha. Well, I'm curious now, so I'm gonna pull that up and check on it. But yeah, but no, I mean, it's very similar to the Jimbo situation. I mean, the talent, I mean, they're acquiring talent. Like that hasn't been the problem. Especially this current class for them is elite. So
isn't it like, I know they just got a decommit on the offensive line to flip
the Ole Miss right after the game.
So I think they were third in the country before that.
$62 million buyout 62? For Brian Kelly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's one of the highest in the country. Like it would be the second biggest buyout ever after Jimbo's. So he's not going anywhere. But I don't think the vibes are good. I can tell you that.
Yeah, the class has already fell from 3rd to 6th now.
And that's assuming Bryce Underwood sticks around. You can still easily lose Bryce Underwood.
They just got a comment. I was just about to say it. Do you think DJ Pickett will change it? He's at the Georgia game right now. He was supposed to be at the Florida game, but changed last second. I'm not really upset about that. There were some people who just want to hate on Billy who were complaining about it. But yeah, if DJ Pickett flips, and Bryce Underwood, that's 2 5-stars right there. That'd be huge losses for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least the odds are higher now, after that game today. I mean, just with all the guys you had there and to get a win like that with the crowd that was there, I think that's definitely going to give you some momentum on the trail. No doubt. We'll see if it works for Pickett specifically. So
the game just happened, so we don't really know too much about recruiting. But Florida had a bunch, probably the most recruits in the country, or most high-level recruits in the country at this game. A couple I want to look at from Auburn, maybe not Tarvis Dice. Hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Tarvis Dice, 4-star offensive lineman out of Fairburn, Georgia. I know from like the beginning of his recruitment, it was really just Auburn. He was like always an Auburn guy. But then Florida was kind of just staying in there. Never really a threat to Auburn. But from what I'm hearing now, Auburn is starting to get a little worried about Dice flipping to Florida. I mean, we know offensive line troubles for Florida has been through the roof. Our recruiting. Offensive line is definitely improving now. But that would be a big get for the Gators. And also, 4-star, or depending on where you look, 247 has him as a 5-star, but composite 4-star defensive lineman Malik Autry. At the end of last season and through the summer, he was getting projections to flip to Florida. Before the season, he said, if Florida shows me on the field what I want to see, they know what is home. Florida, bad start. But now Florida's improving. Auburn looking like they might finish 4-8 or 5-7. I'm not. I think 4-8 was what I thought. Maybe we get a flip there, and then not Florida, but Deuce Knight, 5-star QB, might flip to Ole Miss too. Could Auburn have a decline class like Billy's did last year? What do you?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like Florida's strategy with this class, because they've been in a pretty rough spot with the 2025 class for a while now. It kind of seems to me like the strategy was sort of kick the can down the road a little bit. I mean, ideally, if you're Billy, save your job, which it seems that he's done. And then, go find the other programs where there's more anxiety and sort of, kind of due to them what teams did to Florida at the end of last year's recruiting cycle, with Jamonte Waller and guys like that. Go in and find the guys that are maybe having some buyer's remorse. And yeah, I think absolutely. Like, I think that is the biggest selling point for Napier right now. And it's why I think you could maybe envision these recruiting attempts working, because there's a ton of young guys playing all over the field. Like,
not just even as Florida going after like teams that are doing bad, like FSU and Auburn.
Yeah.
There were two. There was a 5-star and a 4-star visiting from Texas who just blundered us. You had 5-star wide receiver Jaime French. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I think it's Jaime. Yeah,
Jaime French.
Maybe it's
and
Jamie. It might be Jamie. I don't know.
Might be. I don't. Yeah. And 4-star defensive lineman Myron. I just had the name and I forgot it. Myron Charles. I'm pretty sure. Jaime French. Before like this week, I don't think anybody really expected him to be a possibility to flip. There's legit talks about it happening now, because from what we're hearing, he kind of wants to stay in state. And if Florida is now with maybe the best QB in the nation next year, and DJ Lagway, looks like a really pretty destination for someone like him.
Yeah, French is from my neck of the woods here in Jacksonville. Mandarin High guy, same place Carson Beck played. Notably, also where Tramel Jones plays. So, yeah, the quarterback that Florida had in town today for the game, recent FSU decommit. All signs, I mean, I haven't seen. Have you seen anything that doesn't indicate that Tramel Jones is flipping to Florida?
No, he's a Gator.
Yeah,
he's a Gator.
So he's coming. And he is French's high school quarterback. So, certainly some intrigue there. If Florida can get him, we'll see. Does the idea of playing with a combination during his career of Lagway and Tramel Jones, like maybe that influences him. I mean, I think obviously, like we've kind of just talked about, they probably feel pretty good about the quarterback future at Texas as well, for French.
They do.
But I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I think they're going after these Florida guys, state of Florida guys committed to other teams, and basically being like, hey, we're all not getting fired this year. Do you want to stay home?
So we already got the Tramel. Also, French and Tramel teammates in 7-on-7 with Vernell Brown. So there's also that. Last guy we're going to get into here, Solomon Thomas, 5-star offensive tackle committed to FSU. They just fired his offensive line coach. I don't really see him sticking with FSU. That'd be a big surprise to me.
Yeah.
But he said the two teams that have the best chance to flip him, the Florida Gators and LSU Tigers. Just saw Florida beat LSU by 2 scores. Obviously, that's not the determining factor.
Yeah.
But if Florida dishes up the money, there's a good chance we can land Solomon Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not saying a guy's going to flip because he will just watch LSU, lose to Florida. But, I mean, I do think like that losing to Florida raises a lot of questions about whether LSU's poised to compete for a playoff spot next year, which year 4 with a guy that you're paying as much as Brian Kelly, if you're not competing for playoffs, there's going to be, I think there's the potential for some real chaos at that program next year, at least potentially. Like if they have another disappointing campaign, I think that's when things could maybe start to ramp up for Brian Kelly. But yeah, so I think Florida's going to try to argue like we're no less stable than any of these other jobs are.
Definitely. I mean, then you just have the piece of DJ Lagway to sell. There's probably no better recruiting tool outside of money than DJ Lagway right now.
And it's insane that they got him for, assuming he sticks around at Florida, they got him for 2 more years too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely. I know he's also about Solomon. This goes for Solomon Thomas as well. Lagway and his family, very religious. From what I heard, we didn't even offer him necessarily the most money, like in a big total way. Like A&M was offering him a good amount, and Clemson and USC. Mm-hmm. So DJ Lagway is just a really good kid, I'd say, as well. So Solomon Thomas, Solomon obviously in the Bible. I know his mother, I feel weird saying his mom, I don't know, very religious. One reason that he doesn't want him to go is to Miami, who I know had some talk like a month ago or so about him if he flips, like Miami being one of those destinations. But she doesn't want him going to Miami, which really helps Florida, obviously, because now it's just a 1-on-1 with LSU, which is a much more winnable battle than with Miami.
Yes.
Because we talked about Jaime French earlier. He's going to be talking to Miami for sure. So if that money comes rolling in for French, that's why I think we have a better chance for Thomas than we do for French.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like, I think in a way, if this is what they're doing, a lot of experience. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the Heisman thing, but I mean, I think there's definitely a reason to think he's going to have a very nice season next year. Assuming you don't see like mass portal exodus, which I mean, some guys are going to leave. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't seem like Billy has a lot of like guys in the locker room that are, you know, don't like this staff, but guys are going to leave. Like, that's just a reality. It always happens. But yeah, I mean, I think there's the pieces there for him to, you know, with Mizell hopefully taking a step, you know, and guys like that. The ground game's going to be unreal next year.
Oh my God, yeah. We're going to be losing Badger. I'm pretty sure Badger's a senior and can't play.
Badger's done, I think, which is a bummer, man, because he's really coming along as the season goes on.
26 million in the bank shouldn't be a problem. More than just 26, man. You got the other staffers, so you can buy out for the other coach.
Yeah,
but
probably talking more like 40 that you're saving overall. So
yeah, about 40.
I mean, like ballparking that, but like you're probably talking. I mean, you're probably talking at least half of what you're paying Billy in addition, just going to pay other people's buyouts. Does that have a COVID year?
So I've heard some people say that he might be able to return. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, if he even wants to return, because I think he's definitely playing his way to NFL draft status. Kind of like how Ricky Pearsall did. Nicest season ending being Ole Miss and FSU.
No, this will be his 4th season playing. He played in one game in 2020, but he played in 21, 22, 23, and this year. So I'm not sure why he would be able to play another season.
I mean, at this point, I don't know NCAA rules. I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of. And these COVID guys have almost filtered out, so we don't have to worry about it for too much longer. But yeah, I could be wrong about that one. I'm not positive though that he's got another year.
Yeah. But the one position I'm not worried about, because I've already been hearing a lot of things about wide receivers. I'm not worried about wide receivers. There's going to be either transfer targets. We're either going to get 5 stars. Another 5-star actually just schedule an official visit for next week. Dallas Wilson, Tampa kid, committed to Oregon. Leaving out west from Tampa, that's as far as you can really go from a recruit standpoint. So definitely a kid that I'm not going to say we can flip him. So, but it would be really nice. You know, if we got 3 5-star wide receivers in this class, I mean, that'd honestly be a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of funny when you look at like what the best case scenario for this class is now, compared to what it looked like the best case scenario was like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, not even. Yeah, a week ago. I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, like they're being incredibly aggressive. Like, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, the staff was kind of like I think the strategy changed when they realized they were getting another year. And I mean, we'll see about the portal thing. Like if that ends up being true, what like Pete Nakos has said, I mean, I believe it, but I don't think this team's going to have like, I mean, we talked about this on Sunday. I don't think this team's going to have like insane needs in the portal. Like they'll have some areas where they need to get better, but they bring back like a lot of core players. So maybe they can afford to use a lot of these resources on these high school guys.
It's still safety. Safety is still a huge need. LSU's one touchdown.
Dude.
Jordan Castell should be in that position. Because that was kind of, I'll give Nussmeier credit. That was a great throw from Nussmeier.
That was a dart.
But if you have a decent safety out there not named Jordan Castell, there's no way that's a touchdown. This game really could have been.
Him a lot, but man, it's getting tough with Jordan Castell. It's just getting tough.
Bryce Thornton definitely outplayed him. Like, man, I had so much hype for him, especially after that first game against Utah, where he had a great game. The Tennessee game, he had a really good game. But man, since then, it's just been downhill. I mean, definitely still need safety in the portal. Maybe we don't need edge rusher as much as we thought. Maybe we trust who they bring in. Still probably one guy out the portal, but Caleb Banks also had a really good game. I hope he returns. I'm going to put this here. That's not if Jeremiah Smith isn't leaving Ohio State unless Brian Hartline goes somewhere. And if that's somewhere else is a big Power 5 school, he's going to that school.
Which I was going to say, I don't think, first of all, I don't think Brian Hartline's leaving unless Ryan Day leaves, because I don't think a job of the caliber that Brian Hartline would leave for is going to open this year. Like, just straight up. I don't think that's going to happen. Unless they like fired Ryan Day and replaced him with Brian Hartline or did something like weird like that. But
that would, I don't know if I could think of anything crazier than that. Like, the next thing I could think of was when Lincoln Riley left, because I know everyone was talking about Lincoln Riley going to LSU. And then he said the night before, "Oh, I'm not going to LSU." And then like the next day or so goes to USC.
Yeah, that was an all-time troll by Lincoln Riley. That was pretty awesome.
Like, that would be some on that level. Rob, we still need an A++ pass rusher. Yeah.
I probably agree with that.
I just think
if you can find one of those.
That's also the case. And also, if it comes down to money, I'd rather spend money on a safety. I'd rather get an A++ safety right now than an A++ pass rusher. The D-line is just doing way more than
The other thing I'd say is, like, one of the A++ pass rushers in the portal this past year was Princely, who, like, I mean, he's been one of the better like portal guys this year.
The thing with
Princely, he was one of the higher rated too.
I wouldn't say Princely's talent was like the reason I made that face. I think his interactions with fans in the locker room probably also rubbed off in there. I think Princely just needed a change of scenery.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's true. I guess the point I'm just more making is that, like, getting a premier pass rusher in the portal doesn't necessarily guarantee you that you get something that we haven't kind of seen here over the last couple of years. That's more what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Let's see. Tennessee, Georgia is now tied at 17. Wisconsin might go up 2 scores in Oregon. Wisconsin at the 10-yard line, up 10-6.
Wow.
I mean, if they lose that game, I don't even know what the Big 12 race would look like. I mean, Big 10 race would look like.
I mean, yeah, it's like it's Indiana in the driver's seat at that point.
And then they play Ohio State. Then Penn State should win out. I'd assume Oregon still beats Washington.
Yeah, so it would probably be Oregon, Indiana still, just with Indiana.
Well, if Indiana loses to Ohio State.
Oh, I was saying if Indiana were to beat Ohio State is what I'm saying. Yeah.
And then you have a 4-team tie, Penn State, Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon.
I mean, the playoff rate, everything about the playoff and conference title race is as wacky as we've ever seen it in mid-November. So that part of the new system has been pretty fun, not going to lie.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for the 12-team playoff.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think that the playoff is the reason we're having more chaos. I think it's just the talent distribution being wider. And I guess that's really it. So, but I do think it makes it – I don't think it makes the championship contenders wider, because it's still probably going to be in Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be one of those 4 teams, I think. But, man, hey, if Indiana does win against Ohio State, I mean, there's no reason to say they wouldn't be able to win the Natty.
Yeah, no, 100%. DJ, the best quarterback now?
I mean, who's the best QB in A?
It's probably Shedeur. I think Shedeur is probably the best quarterback in the country right now.
He also has maybe the best receiving room in the country.
Yeah.
With the now Heisman favorite Travis Hunter.
That's totally valid. Yeah, I mean, I think DJ, I think that I'm not trying to be like a downer. I just want to pump the brakes a little bit with DJ, because he's still a true freshman quarterback, and you see that at times. Like he will miss throws occasionally. You know, he will kind of force things. Like he's prone to do that. So I just don't want to put like the weight of the world on his shoulders right now. But he's really talented, and he's going to be an incredibly good quarterback.
He probably had like 2 passes, at least 2, that should have been intercepted.
Yes.
So we did get a little bit lucky there. But yeah, you're expected to see that. Especially, we didn't even see his legs. I mean, imagine he has those yards still, and then you add another like 20, 30, 40 rushing yards.
especially knowing how the LSU defense has looked against mobile quarterbacks this year.
Yes. I've been seeing people on Twitter that were complaining mid-game about LSU being the worst run offense and one of the worst run defenses, and our yardage wasn't really matching up. But I mean, on a yard per carry basis, it really did. I mean, it was efficient, but we didn't do it enough. And they had those big runs. Yeah. And a yard per carry basis, didn't they do worse? You said Durham had like 5 yards per carry?
Yeah, Durham was just under 5, and
under 5,
was just over 5. So yeah.
So Williams was better than his average, I'd assume.
All three of Florida's running backs had more yards per carry than all of LSU starters.
Wisconsin,
or not starters, sorry, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, Wisconsin ends up kicking a field goal. It was
so
nice to see
13 to 6.
Yes,
okay.
It was nice to see Montrell Johnson go out there for 2 total plays. The first one being like a 11-yard run, and then having like another 3-yard run. So hopefully we see a lot more of him. But I think really the biggest thing going into next week is DJ Lagway going to be more mobile. We're going to need his mobility more than we did against LSU. Because, I mean, we talked about it. Edge rushers like Princely Manamilian, Walter Nolan.
Man.
Dudley, I mean,
JJ Pegues.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they are loaded. That's gonna be tough. That will put this offensive line's been playing really well. That's gonna put it to the test. That's really gonna put it to the test.
Do we know how tested this Ole Miss secondary is, though? I mean, Carson Beck hasn't been elite, has not been really good in the past like month or so.
I think LSU's passing game looks a lot less impressive than we thought it might be.
And they put 30 up, including overtime, on them. 29 because not sure how many passing yards. I know Nussmeier gets a lot of passing yards because their system not running the ball at all.
Mm-hmm.
But then who else is Ole Miss? I mean, Kentucky, they not good passing offense at all.
I mean they beat South Carolina pretty bad. They shut down South Carolina.
That South Carolina team,
not a great passing team either. Yeah.
That South Carolina team was also very hurt. Lenore Sellers was out for the rest of the LSU game. Rocky Sanders, I don't even think played in that game.
Yeah.
That was kind of like South Carolina's. That was like South Carolina's Texas right there.
Yeah,
for us,
even like they're not a premier passing offense either. So yeah,
Sellers does look like a good QB though. Didn't he have like 300 yards or something today?
I think he did. He had a good game. They were productive against Missouri. I'm really coming around to them. Like there's a reality where South Carolina is in the playoff hunt going into the final week of the year. They only have 3 losses.
Who would you take, South Carolina or Tennessee? Like in a 1-on-1 matchup?
Well, Tennessee would need to lose again, but if Tennessee had 2 losses,
I'm saying if they were to face right now, going against each other.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like if I was on the CFP selection. Honestly, I might lean South Carolina in that game. I think they match up really well against Tennessee in that game.
Sellers' mobility definitely helps a lot. That Tennessee front 7. So I probably also go South Carolina.
I'm high on that. And I didn't think I thought Shane Beamer was going to get fired this year, or at least like good. Like this could very easily be a he gets fired kind of year. That's not going to happen. Like they're having a really nice season.
You guys think Trey and Webb are going to hit the portal? I would say Trey is going to hit the portal. Yeah. Webb did tweet out best running back or best room in the nation.
Webb seems to really like it, like being a part of the team. Like he doesn't. I don't think he wants to transfer. I think Trey, if Trey Wilson's on the team next year, I'll be honestly pretty surprised. I'll just say that.
Kelby and Andy Jean. I would say Jean 100%.
Yeah.
Kelby is kind of like Trey on Webb, but I think Kelby, as he grows into that position more and losing some defensive linemen, maybe Caleb Banks leaves. I don't know. But if we lose some more defensive linemen in his development, he could get a bunch of playing time next year, and he can. But he also might transfer. I still think it was a mistake moving him to the defensive tackle position. Still should have been on the end. or edge. I don't know, maybe not edge rush, but a defensive end like a sap.
Yeah.
But so I wouldn't be 100% sure on Kelby Collins. Do you have any last thoughts you want to say about this game?
No, I mean, like, I'll just say it doesn't completely, like, I'm not reevaluating my priors on Billy Napier because of this game. Like, I wrote an article earlier this week on College Sports Wire that I think Florida's going to regret keeping Billy Napier in the long term, like keeping him for 2025. I still mostly stand by the sentiment that I wrote in that article. Like today, I think was big because you finally got one of these wins where you put yourself in position to do it. You get these things to go your way and you pull it off. So like, I think it's the kind of win where I think was absolutely necessary to get if you're going to build the kind of narrative going into next season, because like, and not just for like fans, but like for recruits and portal guys, like, because ultimately you got to convince them that they're actually coming in here to join a team that can compete for a playoff spot, not just be on the team that's going to be the 8-4 bridge team. Like, that's not what you're looking for here narrative wise. So I think this was a game you absolutely had to have, and it kind of changes the framing the rest of the season, because now I think FSU, you got to feel good about if DJ's playing. Which I mean, even with Aiden Warner, maybe you have a chance. I mean, maybe if he's not truly, that's going to be the worst football game ever. But and then I think you look at this Ole Miss game, it's like now all of a sudden, you know, we knew how brutal the ending of the season was going to be. If you end it winning 3 straight, like, okay, I'll start to reevaluate my priors then. So I think that's, to me, why this game was just so big, because I think Billy had to have it if he was going to kind of maintain any benefit of the doubt here, which he did for the time being, at least.
He definitely did. And before I said my last piece, Florida Ole Miss being at noon, then the other ABC games, 3:30. And then look, the 3:30 ABC game, Texas, Kentucky. And then the 7:30 nightcap ABC game, Alabama, Oklahoma.
Can we get a flex on that bad boy or something? Like, is it too late?
I don't think we can. But that game, 100%, that should be Florida Ole Miss on that night game, really. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I would say overall, I am higher than what you are on the team, saying he's going to regret, and you still standing by that. I do want to see us finish this recruiting class, not just go into the portal and get some 1 or 2 year guys. I want to see us land those Solomon Thomas and Ame Frenches and Tavares Dices of the worlds. If we can land those guys, I think that paints a better picture. I'd rather land those guys and lose to Ole Miss by like 10, 15 points than I would then beat Ole Miss, or then actually, well, no, I probably wouldn't say that. I mean, if we beat Ole Miss, we're probably.
I understand what you're getting at. Yeah.
I think the future is definitely a bit more important than being Ole Miss.
I mean, at the end of the day, this team has lost 5 games, right? Like there's nothing you're actually going to materially accomplish this year. It's all about what can you do to build stock in the future. So.
100%. We will, let's do this. You can find me on Twitter at @TWithRegator, him at Tyler Natuno. We will be live tomorrow, 7 o'clock Eastern time, with our Florida Ole Miss predictions. I don't know where I want to go there. Also some other stuff.
Sleep on that one.
Yeah. Hopefully some good recruiting stuff too. But hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Gators.